Divorce is imminent. Yes, Kandi finally announces that she is divorcing Todd. And are we surprised? Not really, especially after that BravoCon speech saying, especially right now, Andy Cohen, I am appreciative of your support and your phone calls. Plus, her IG has really no signs of Todd at this point. Okay. And there were rumors that they were going to get divorced last year, but they tried to make it work. But it's a divorce season, y'all. It really is. It's the end of the year. People want to go into the new year with a clean slate, have their taxes be separated. Okay. Who am I outside this relationship? A lot of people are going through divorce, and as a therapist, we don't talk enough about divorce season, but it's here. Y'all gonna start seeing a lot more people get divorced. And it's been like endless news about the Housewives franchise, Jen Shaw, Wendy, all these girls, Mia. Okay. What's going on over there? What's in the water? But divorce is this new story right now. Pray for Kandi. Okay, pray for her.
Kandi out here doing specials. And I know things have gotten a little tight financially because she doesn't have her marketing anymore, being the Real Housewives of Atlanta. She got fired. When the people say, oh, we didn't renew the contract, I didn't accept the contract, that's because they didn't offer you no money, so they wanted you to quit. They knew what it would take for you to quit. And we were tired of the storylines. And I knew she was going to find a way now to try to figure out how to keep the marketing bag going. She goes to TV One with a one-person documentary the Escape members wasn't a part of, but she talked about them the entire time. She talked about somebody stealing her diary on the road. I was like, Kandi, how old were you to be having a diary stolen and you got bodies in the diary? And that's how allegedly Jermaine Dupri, all that wine came out about you hitting him. We ain't surprised about who you hit. You hit every male group that was on the tour, okay?
Kandi Burruss and Todd Tucker might have looked steady from the outside since linking up back in 2011, but plenty of people peeped that something felt off in that Burruss-Tucker home vibe. They built a whole brand, stacked cash together, and raised their family. But even with all that success, the energy never fully hit right, like something in that mix was watered down from the jump. And now, Kandi sliding Tucker's name off her Instagram and folks noticing she hasn't been rocking her ring is making people talk louder than ever. It's giving exactly what watchers whispered for years, that this marriage might have been hanging on by a thread that was ready to snap any minute. The streets are saying the whole situation been shaky, and Kandi moving quiet like this got everybody side-eyeing the timeline of it all. People been bringing up little moments, old interviews, and slick comments that suddenly make way more sense now. Every time Kandi showed up solo, every time someone asked about Todd and she brushed it off, every time fans felt like something was just strange, now it feels like the puzzle pieces connecting right in front of everyone's eyes. And Kandi dropping that last name online? That move had the internet spinning in circles like, hold on, what does that mean? Because it definitely wasn't accidental. But before we get any deeper into this wild situation, make sure you grab something tasty from rrgsnacks.com. They've got applewood smoked bacon jerky, freeze-dried treats, and those butter toffee peanuts that people swear hit different every time. To really understand how this whole mess even started, we gotta slide back to 2011 when Todd was grinding behind the scenes as a production manager on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, while Kandi was already shining on the cast. Phaedra Parks actually met Todd before Kandi did, and she was out here saying he was cute, smooth with his words, and had that calm, down-to-earth energy that made him stand out right away. She swore he'd be perfect for Kandi and kept nudging him like, go talk to her already, because she wanted to play matchmaker with confidence. Then came that cast trip to South Africa, and that's where things really heated up. Out there, far from home, Todd and Kandi clicked in a way nobody expected, and once they touched back down in Georgia, they kept that spark going fast. They started getting close in a grown-up way, but while Todd was cool keeping things casual, Kandi wasn't trying to stay in some half-baked situationship. While chatting on O's Black Love series, she explained how she looked him dead in the eye and asked, "What are you going to do?" before telling him straight up that she wasn't interested in just hanging out. She told him, "I don't really need no new friends." And that's when Todd had to decide if he was stepping up or stepping out. He chose to go all in, no hesitation.
Grammy Award-winning singer and songwriter Kandi Burruss is divorcing Todd Tucker after 11 years of marriage and 2 children together. And apparently the streets have been talking for a while now, but specifically this week, the heat on this story has been gaining traction, which is part of the reason why I think she released this exclusive statement to People magazine. Kandi says, "After deep thought and a lot of prayer, I've made the decision to move forward with a divorce. This is a difficult and emotional time, but my focus remains on protecting my peace," which is an interesting choice of words. She says, "Being the best mother I can be and co-parenting with love and respect." She continues, "I'm stepping into a new chapter, pouring into my work, my family, and my own growth. I'm grateful to everyone who supported us throughout the years, and I ask for privacy, grace, and understanding as we navigate this transition with our family." What stands out to me in this statement, it's not a joint statement. This is just a statement from Kandi, but there's been speculation all week in regards to her removing Tucker from her social media platform. And I can exclusively report that I've heard allegations there may have been other individuals involved in their relationship. This may have been the last straw for Kandi. And if you know Kandi, she doesn't make a decision lightly. There's been a lot of speculation about their relationship for the last couple of years, but it's gained a lot of traction in the last year. And it also makes me wonder if that was the motivation behind her liquidating some of her businesses that she has with Todd. But as you know, Todd and Kandi do have a prenuptial agreement, but since getting married, they've done a lot of work together. Restaurants, producing successful Tony Award nominated Broadway plays. And I believe they have another Broadway play coming out together. The other thing about Broadway, Kandi will be on Broadway starting in December all the way through March here in New York City. We're going to continue to follow the story, so be sure to...
They kept things on the low for a while since the cast wasn't allowed to date the crew, so everything had to stay quiet even though they were getting closer by the day. And when Kandi got serious about taking their romance public, she told Todd he needed to quit his job so they could finally stop sneaking around and start showing their relationship proudly. That move turned everything up another level, and people still talk about how bold it was. So you might be wondering what Todd planned to fall back on after walking away from that production gig, right? Kandi wasn't leaving him stranded, though. She made it crystal clear that when she loves someone, she goes all in, 100%, no hesitation. She even said, "I'm a person that if I love you and I'm with you all the way in my mind, there's nothing that we cannot do together." That's how serious she was. So Todd handed in that resignation, and the two of them started moving like a power team, building their money, their name, and their empire side by side. But the second they went public, a woman named Mila stepped out the shadows with a whole storyline of her own. She claimed she was his woman up until the moment he dipped out to be with Kandi, and she wasn't quiet about it either. Mila said she pulled Todd aside for a real heart-to-heart about this new situation he had going on, and the things she claims he told her were wild enough to leave anybody staring at the screen like, "What?" According to Mila, Todd allegedly told her that Kandi was just a trick, that he didn't vibe with her music, that he didn't think she could sing, and that she had a fat ass, but her face was only all right. She said all of this came straight out of his mouth and she wasn't sugarcoating any of it. Hearing that kind of talk, if it really happened, would make anybody question what this man was up to. But Mila wasn't done. She also claimed Todd was using Kandi as his golden key to slide into Atlanta's celebrity circle, acting like he'd struck the jackpot while still keeping Mila in his messages on the side. She said he was texting her telling her he missed her, even while he was posted up next to Kandi like everything was perfect. If any of this was real, then Todd was out here running plays like he was in the NFL, switching lanes, juggling situations, and chasing those Bravo checks like they were the championship trophy. Their relationship kept moving fast, and by New Year's Day in January 2013, Todd decided it was time to lock it in with a proposal. According to Us Weekly, he gave Kandi a 2-carat diamond ring during the celebration, surrounded by her Real Housewives castmates and her daughter Riley, who was 10 at the time. The magazine claimed Riley gave her blessing, but that wasn't exactly the full truth, according to Kandi's mom, Mama Joyce. She said things behind the scenes weren't nearly as smooth as the headlines made it seem. And Mama Joyce wasn't shy about her opinions either. She made it known she wasn't impressed with the engagement ring Todd picked, even though Kandi swore up and down that she was the one who chose it. Mama Joyce wasn't buying that story, and she wasn't about to pretend she was thrilled about this engagement just to keep the peace. She was side-eyeing everything from the price tag to Todd's intentions, and she let it be known loud and clear. So let's put this all together for a second. Fedra had to basically shove Todd toward Kandi in the beginning. He only wanted something casual at first. He allegedly told someone that Kandi's voice was trash and her face wasn't hitting. He was still sliding into another woman's DMs, according to Mila. And now we're at the part where he gives her a ring folks said didn't match her status, her career, or her bank account. That's a whole lot of questionable energy, stacking up one piece at a time. But when wedding planning kicked off, Kandi wasn't just choosing flowers and cake flavors. She was handling business like someone who's been around fame and money long enough to know better. She started drafting a prenup so tight it could cut circulation off a whole finger. That paperwork didn't play games. It clearly stated that if things ever went sideways, Todd wouldn't be seeing a single cent in alimony, and he'd have 30 days, not a day more, to grab his things and roll out of her house. No confusion, no loopholes, no but wait moments. Kandi made sure everything was locked down strong. Now, why would a man agree to terms that tight in the first place? Was it true love pushing him to sign without blinking? Or was it the access, the lifestyle, and the doors that open when you stand next to one of Atlanta's most powerful women that made those conditions go down easier than Shannon Sharpe swallowing his words on live TV? People were definitely asking those questions. When somebody signs away every single safety net, it usually means one of two things. Either they're floating in a fairy tale cloud, thinking love conquers everything, or they understand they've got way more to gain by sticking close to the person with the real power. And in this case, plenty of folks were side-eyeing Todd, wondering which category he fell into. With the prenup laid out and ready, all Todd had to do was put his signature on that paper. But he didn't. He hesitated, and that hesitation had Mama Joyce sounding alarms louder than a fire truck. She straight up called him an opportunist and let him know she wasn't buying his good guy act. On Real Housewives, she even told Todd that Kandi stepped herself down for him and that a man is supposed to be a provider. She wasn't holding back at all. Todd clapped back calmly, saying, "I provide love, happiness, stability." But that didn't cool things down. And then came the bridal salon moment, the one fans still talk about. Mama Joyce got heated and accused Kandi's assistant Carmen of sleeping with Todd. The energy in that room flipped instantly, and things were tense enough to cut with a knife. From there, Mama Joyce didn't keep her frustrations private. She took them straight to the press. In an exclusive interview with Radar Online, she said she believed Todd would take all of Kandi's money and made it clear she wanted nothing to do with planning that wedding. She wasn't sugarcoating anything, and she wasn't trying to act polite for the cameras. Things got even messier when Mama Joyce ended up feuding with Todd's mother, Ms. Sharon, before Ms. Sharon sadly passed away from a stroke in December 2014. The family tension was on full display, and it painted a picture of just how chaotic everything had become. Todd eventually signed the prenup, but only at the very last minute, and he and Kandi officially tied the knot on April 4th, 2014. Even though Mama Joyce was deep in her feelings, she still showed up to the ceremony, which ended up airing on the 2014 spin-off Kay's Wedding. But once the cameras stopped rolling and the honeymoon glow faded, Todd told Kandi he was still bothered by that prenup situation, and according to her, it hit their intimacy hard. Like full stop, brakes slammed, everything shut down just 6 months after the vows were said. Now this is where things get real, because the emotional layers in this part run deep as ever. For a lot of men, physical closeness is wrapped up with ego, pride, and feeling valued. And even though Todd agreed to that prenup, signing something that basically said, "You leave with nothing," could have hit him somewhere he didn't expect. It's the kind of thing that can flip a switch in the back of someone's mind without them even realizing it. Let's keep it honest. The power difference was heavy. Kandi had the money, the house, the fame, the legacy, the name, the whole spotlight. Todd stepped into that marriage knowing every piece of stability in their world came from her side. That can shake a man's confidence in ways he might never say out loud, not even to the person he loves. And feelings like that don't just disappear, they leak out in the soft spots. When people hold resentment or insecurity, it usually hits the most vulnerable part of a relationship first: the intimacy. That's the crack that shows up before the big arguments, before the distance, before the silence. When a man feels small, insecure, or like he lost his position in the dynamic, he'll pull back physically without even realizing he's doing it. The emotional tension makes him feel off balance, and instead of talking it out, he shuts down in the one place where honesty hits the hardest. If Todd felt like he didn't have solid ground in that relationship outside of what Kandi allowed, then pulling back in the bedroom might have been his way of grabbing some control back. It's a quiet power move some people make without even realizing it, especially when they feel like everything else is slipping through their fingers. Meanwhile, Kandi is a high-achieving, financially stacked woman who operates with planning, structure, and straight logic. But intimacy doesn't work like business deals. You can't run it through contracts and bullet points. So when Todd suddenly hit the brakes, she felt it on every level. It wasn't just about the lack of closeness. It was the emotional distance behind it, the unspoken power fight, and what felt like a silent punishment for a prenup she viewed as basic protection, while he read it as straight-up rejection. That kind of miscommunication can rot a relationship from the inside out if nobody addresses it. Even with all that tension, Kandi was still ready to start expanding their family fast. But she told Fedra she and Todd weren't even having enough grown-up time to make that happen. The spark wasn't sparking, the vibe wasn't vibing, and the timing definitely wasn't timing. They eventually got back on track, and by January 2016, they welcomed their son Ace into the world. Later, in November 2019, they grew their family again when their daughter Blaze was born through a surrogate. But adding kids didn't make everything magically better. It added new layers neither of them seemed emotionally prepared for. Todd even opened up in a video on Kandi's YouTube channel, saying he felt disconnected from their new baby girl, and that hit fans hard because it showed how deep the cracks had started running. There were real emotional battles happening behind the scenes, and it was clear both of them were trying to manage feelings they didn't fully know how to handle. When a child comes into the world through surrogacy, some parents, especially men, can struggle to feel that instant biological attachment. Usually, mothers build connection through physical closeness, skin-to-skin moments, and all those natural hormonal shifts that help the bond grow fast. But in this situation, Kandi wasn't the one carrying the baby, so the whole process already felt different. More medical, less instinctive, less emotional, and way less like the traditional path most couples experience. For a man already feeling shaky in his marriage, already feeling like the power in the house leaned heavy toward his wife, missing that natural bonding moment can hit the ego hard. It can make someone feel unnecessary, extra, or like they're standing on the outside looking in. So instead of stepping into the family energy, he stepped away from it, almost like distancing himself, gave him a sense of control he couldn't find inside the home. Kandi even mentioned that he started spending too much time out of the house. She said he was going out clubbing 2 nights in a row less than a week after the baby arrived. One of those nights being the day after Thanksgiving, and he stayed out until the sun came up. That kind of move isn't just blowing off steam. That's emotional avoidance showing up in real time. Psychologically, avoidance is what people slip into when they feel overwhelmed, unvalued, or powerless. And Todd had several pressure points hitting all at once. He wasn't feeling reassured in the marriage, he wasn't bonding naturally with the baby, and he wasn't grounded in what his role as a father was supposed to feel like. So he gravitated toward the one environment where he did feel seen and validated: the nightlife, the social scene, the place where nobody expected him to confront the emotional weight waiting back at home. Nightlife, clubs, attention, freedom. All of that can feel like a quick ego boost when someone is battling quiet insecurity. And when Todd was confronted about being out so much, he argued that he went out because Kandi wasn't giving him enough attention. So he wasn't just asking for affection, he was asking to feel important, to feel seen, to feel like he mattered in a house where he already felt overshadowed. Deep down, maybe he did believe he had a meaningful spot in the family he helped create, but he reached for the wrong coping strategy to fill that empty space. On top of that, Kandi had her own worries building up. She didn't like how much time Todd was spending at a condo in New Jersey that he owned, especially since he'd bought that place years ago with an ex he dated before meeting her. According to Kandi, every time Todd went to New York, he'd stay at that same condo, kick it with his boys, and party like nothing in Atlanta was waiting for him. She even told her co-stars that she sometimes worried he might be cheating on her, and that fear sat heavy on her heart. Then her co-star Portia Williams added more fuel to the conversation when she claimed Todd was allegedly hooking up with women behind Kandi's back. And to hide who he was, he would tell those women his name was Marvin. Hearing something like that, even as a rumor, can shake any relationship, especially when trust is already bruised. As their empire kept growing with more businesses, more projects, and more responsibilities, Kandi started to feel like the line between their marriage and their work was getting blurry. She worried that what used to be love, excitement, and connection was slowly turning into nothing but business meetings, schedules, and team decisions. And once a relationship starts feeling more like a job than a partnership, the cracks only get wider. During one of their filmed therapy sessions, Kandi laid it all out with zero sugarcoating. She admitted straight up that their intimacy had fallen off heavy. In her words, they weren't blowing each other's backs out the way they used to, and the distance between them was starting to feel permanent. That wasn't just frustration. That was a woman realizing the spark they once had was slipping right through their fingers. Todd, meanwhile, felt unseen in a totally different way. He said Kandi wasn't making enough time for the family, and he reminded her that he quit his job and shifted his entire life to make their relationship work, but didn't feel like she ever made the same kind of sacrifice. To him, everything in their world revolved around Kandi's schedule, Kandi's career, Kandi's spotlight. And he felt more like someone circling her universe than someone sharing it. But then Todd opened up even deeper. He admitted he took on a bunch of new business ventures, including their trucking company, because he felt pressure to impress Mama Joyce and keep Kandi's fan base satisfied. He didn't want to look like the man who wasn't pulling his weight, so he stacked responsibility after responsibility trying to prove himself. He explained it in one raw moment. I was able to become a business entity that makes a lot of money. Everybody accepts the money guy. He's good. He's the best. He's this. But I'm not happy. That confession cracked the whole picture open, because while the world was clapping for them as a power couple, Todd was quietly drowning under expectations, pressure, judgment, and the feeling that he wasn't enough unless he produced something valuable. And once a man starts tying his worth to performance instead of connection, everything else starts breaking down. Resentment builds, intimacy collapses, and the marriage stops feeling like a place to rest. It starts feeling like a non-stop boardroom meeting where nobody gets to be vulnerable or at peace. Before you jump to the next chapter of this wild story, make sure you hit subscribe to Juicy Reel so you never miss the next messy reveal.